the Titanic bore down on an iceberg directly in its path. Later estimates determined that 37 seconds elapsed from the moment the crow's nest alerted the bridge until the Titanic collided with it.
I corresponded with Frederick Fleet, who was in the crow's nest of the Titanic, and he said when he first saw the iceberg, it looked like just a little bump on the horizon. But he immediately picked up the telephone that was in the crow's nest and called the bridge and said, "Iceberg right ahead, sir."
The berg was approximately 1 mile away with the ship traveling at roughly 21 knots. First Officer Murdoch ordered the wheel turned and engines reversed to maneuver out of the way. But there simply wasn't time or room for the Titanic to clear the berg. Instead, Murdoch sealed the ship's fate.
If the ship hadn't been going, a fraction of a knot that fast, if it had been going any slower, the bow would have, missed it. It was starting to turn. It almost missed the berg. If it had just had 5 seconds more warning or 5 seconds later warning, it might have hit the berg more direct. The ship was designed to withstand a head-on collision. It was that glancing scrape all along the side that was the death knell.
The collision likely caused the rivets on the steel plates of the hull below water level to pop under pressure along a 220-foot line, breaching 6 compartments. All Murdoch knew was that they'd hit.
He went to the lever to close the watertight doors. And from that point on, Captain Smith came up on the bridge, and this was just after they struck the berg, and Captain Smith said, "What happened?" And Murdoch said, "We've struck an iceberg, sir. I tried hard to port around her, but she was too close." And from that point on, the Titanic, of course, was mortally wounded.
There was also evidence to suggest that the ship may have temporarily ridden up onto the iceberg instead of, or in addition to, grading it along the side. The survivor claimed he saw water rushing into a portion of the hull that could not have been breached.
Fireman Hendrickson, he saw water pouring into the fireman's passage. That passage was compromised somehow. It was open to the sea. It was a large amount of water. Yet, the fireman's passage was in the center of the ship. It was 3 feet away from the skin of the ship. Now, under no account do we speculate that the iceberg penetrated 3 feet into the side of the ship. However, the fireman's passage was supported on stanchions coming from the bottom of the ship.
If this eyewitness account is accurate, water must have been pouring into a watertight compartment from below. Designer Thomas Andrews joined a carpenter sent by Captain Smith to sound or inspect the ship. What they saw confirmed their worst fears.
Andrews calculated that the ship was doomed as soon as he saw the extent of the damage. And I have to wonder what Andrews saw during his inspection. I would like to know if he knew that there were other points of ingress for the water, and based on that he was able to calculate that at a certain point in this sinking process, the water was going to find these non-watertight decks, and once it did that, the ship was doomed.
Despite theories about the micro-cracking of the ship's steel and weakened rivets, there was no conclusive evidence that either played a significant part in causing the disaster. The same is true for the theory that the coal fire may have weakened the hull. Simply put, the collision alone was catastrophic enough.